spider monkey.
No! The diamonds are here!
You greasy bastard! Where's my shoes?
Sign your pity on the running time.
Big and white and cruel and mean.
Kiss my Converse. Easy, white chocolate. I wouldn't want you to melt.
But you just have to give me twice as much blood!
I'm coming.
I don't want you to come.
You're gonna need a bigger
Spider monkey. Spider monkey. Hold on tight, spider monkey.
All right, and welcome to the Bowels of Movie Night. I'm Isaac, and with me, as always, is my fearless co-host, Larry. How are you doing this week?
I hate the 90s as much as you hate the 80s, and I want to die. Also, you really threw me off because you said, how are you doing this week, instead of how are you doing this week, Larry, and my brain stopped because I'm like, wait, is he talking to me?
I'm talking to the other co-host. We have a new co-host.
It's not so much that is he talking to me, it's just like, wait, he didn't do the thing. What? Am I supposed to talk now?
Damn, we shouldn't have taken a hiatus.
Why
We're thrown off.
Why do you think we do these exhaustive 4-hour rehearsals before recording if you're not going to get it right, I think?
Yeah, well, I mean, my pirouette was on point early. I don't know, dancing.
Boy, that was... Yikes. This is going to be a rough one. Neither of us want to be here. I don't want to talk about Spawn. We both had a bad week, and life is terrible. And it's winter, and it's the time when the soul dies.
Yeah, no, seriously. Every time leaves start falling off the trees, I just prepare myself for 4.5 months of depression.
It's true. There's a bunch of deer. I just mentioned before we started recording. There's a bunch of deer in the backyard of the new noodle factory, and this one has been staring up, I assume at me, into my soul, and I'm afraid it's like stealing my soul. I can't believe it's still there. It must have noticed me looking at it. Yeah, that's all I got. There we go. This is gonna be a bad episode. It's not going to be good.
It's going to be a great episode.
And I don't mean
listeners.
It's not going to be good, like with like a movie that really gets me fired up. It's just bad. It's no good. I don't want to talk about it.
Oh, well, do all of the good podcast things. Rate, subscribe, find us on Facebook, find us on Twitter. You can send us an email. It's now bowelsofmovienight@gmail.com. We would love to hear from you, get any movie suggestions. We're also, we mentioned last week, but we're branching out a little bit. So we're doing stuff that's not strictly on Netflix. So if you have any suggestions of movies on, the other streaming platforms, Hulu, Amazon Prime, Disney Plus, HBO, you could always toss one of those our way, because we're gonna really plumb the depths of movie night.
Well, yeah, I mean it's a whole new world now, because Amazon Prime and Disney Plus in its own way. Disney made a lot of really bad movies in the 60s. But, it's Disney, so certain people just have blinders on when it comes to that, but...
This is true. I'm very excited for Larry's next movie. I just found it on Amazon Prime.
Oh, God.
2 minutes ago, and it's going to be...
You were very excited at a day where neither of us are very excited about, being alive, even. So, it's not good.
If there's any luck, you'll be electrocuted in a hot tub with the rest of the partygoers.
You did mention that, and that's not good, man. I don't like the sound of that.
Oh, no, the special effects were really good, though.
Oh, that sounds like today's outing, Spawn. But, yeah, it's... The show is going to change in a way just because of how bad shit's about to get.
I'm so excited.
My God, Amazon Prime has some real trash.
Oh boy, yes.
Next week you were reviewing Dragon. I've already forgotten. We just talked about it. And I already forgot. Dragon Fart.
Dragon Fart 2. Whatever. Dragony or.
Dragon Fart 2. Nope. That was going to be way too sexual, even for me. That was about to be what I was about to say was too much. Dragon Heart Origin. No, that's the fucking video game again. Heart Revengeance. No, that's another video game.
I haven't watched it yet. I have no idea.
Heart,
I'm probably just going to review The Big Lebowski.
Dragon Heart Daenerys is naked. I don't know. Fucking hell. Whatever. But yeah, after that, the movie you're getting after that, I could not be more excited about. I truly, I think it's what this show has been building up to in my head this whole time. So
now I'm wet and nervous.
You should be. Why are you wet? Don't answer that.
Vagina.
It's pronounced Virginia. Okay, so today's fucking movie is Spawn. Spawn, for those of you who aren't familiar, is a superhero movie, allegedly, from the 1990s. Let's see actually what year exactly, because I didn't look. I mean, I have everything pulled up. I just don't remember. 97.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah.
Okay.
That sounds right. Why is it not readily available on IMDb? I hate this. All right, where's fucking the other one? Again, 97. Spawn, 1997. It's super. And yeah, so this is, for those of you who may be younger listeners, first of all, stop it. Stop listening to this. We're adults and we say things that children shouldn't hear.
Vaginas.
Like vaginas. God, Virginia's, Texas is a place that I've been. No, it's not. Not funny. Not funny. This is going to be a very bad episode. I'm not feeling funny. I sometimes do feel funny and think this is going to be good. Not one of those times. Not one of those times.
It's usually after you huff something out of a paint can. That's when you feel funny.
Yeah, paint. Why would I dump the paint out in somewhere else and use the can to huff something when I could just huff the paint?
Yeah, I don't know. Just stick to sniffing Sharpies.
Have you ever huffed something?
No.
Okay, because I mean, I've never done a drug of any kind besides caffeine.
No, I learned enough to know that was extra dangerous.
Does huffing just involve just like sniffing it, or is there like a motion? In my head, a huff is like you like try to inhale it like it's a pie on a windowsill that has a tendril that's trying to make you float over to it.
I'm not an expert in these fields.
Okay,
unfortunately.
I in my head, huffing is different because I assume, really, like thinking about it logically, you just kind of breathe in like a can of, I don't know, gasoline or paint or something. You just kind of like take a deep breath. But in my head, it's like a motion. It's like a huff is a reverse cough.
If any of our listeners routinely huff dangerous chemicals to get high, and you're going to anyway, just film a video of it and send it to us so we know.
Yeah, and then we just tell people it's like full of vape juice or something that you're allowed to legally huff.
I think you're legally allowed to huff like stuff you can buy. It's not illegal.
That's a good point. Yeah, I guess it's like, because paint isn't illegal.
Darn tootin'. See, that's a way to get around that pesky federal government.
Toot is my favorite way to describe what's
an orgasm?
No, an amount of cocaine. A toot. I love hearing people say I did a toot of coke. It's so delightful. It makes it seem so childish. Great. Okay, I guess I should fucking talk about Spawn now.
Yeah, the listeners are aching to hear about this great movie.
Go down a stream of consciousness rabbit hole for an hour and call it a day?
No, you need to suffer. It's your turn.
I'm already suffering. All right, fucking Spawn. 1997. Rotten Tomatoes has the tomato meter at a 17%. Should shock no one. The audience score is a 36%, which is a little more than double the tomato meter, but still bad, which doesn't shock me because as we'll see, there's a reason why. And on IMDb, it holds a 5.2, so about middle of the road. Spawn is a comic book hero that was created by a man named Todd Mcfarlane. I may be pronouncing that not exactly correct. Spawn is the epitome of the edginess of the 90s, all crammed into one character. And Todd McFarlane was one of those. So I kind of hate comic books because it's sort of like comic books are like kind of the reason that sports don't interest me, or like sports statistics don't interest me. Like I know you have a lot of knowledge about baseball and statistics and that kind of thing, and you're sort of up in that. But like I don't like watching ESPN. To me, I get the same feeling that I do when I like listen to comic book writers talk. I don't know why. It's just like my brain glosses over when I hear about the comic industry. I just can't. Same thing when I hear about people talking about like how many hits a baseball batter has hit or how many tackles a linebacker. It's information that like my brain just refuses to accept it. So I've never been able to really grasp like the actual anything around comic books other than what's been like in movies and television, because comics don't interest me. They never have.
I always struggle kind of to read comics.
Yeah.
I don't know why. It doesn't hit my brain quite the right way.
It's the same thing. Like I read very fast and I'm more interested in the words than the pictures. I remember my stepdad one year got my little sister, a Runaways comic, which is, I think it's a DC property, and it was fine. But like she and I read it and he looked at us both and he's like, "Did you guys even look at the pictures?" And I'm like, I mean, I kind of grasped them, yeah, but I read the words because the words are what tells the story. So maybe that's just me.
You need comics with bigger boobies in them.
No, they're the least interesting of all. There's porn, Isaac. I'll just watch porn. I don't need to. There's a guy.
But what do you watch in between watching porn?
More porn. I don't know. Deep Space Nine lately. What do you want from me? Anything else?
Not enough boobs. Need more boobs.
I suppose. Yeah. So anyway, Todd McFarlane is this guy who, like, back in the 80s and 90s, he was like this sort of freelance comic book artist. He did stuff in DC and Marvel. For those of you who don't know anything about comic books, somehow in this day and age, because of the MCU being so big, they're the two biggest companies are Marvel, which is now owned by Disney, and DC, which is owned by, I think, Warner Brothers, but they can't get any movie franchises off the ground for some reason. Don't know why. They keep failing that. But he kind of was a freelance artist between both of those, and then he had some falling out because he wanted to make his stuff more violent and edgy, and decided to branch off with some other people and make a third comic book house. There was more than three. Just fucking shut up and bear with me if you're a comics nerd. Called Image Comics. And the, like, franchise, sort of how in DC Comics, like, Batman and Superman more so, and arguably Batman are kind of like the flagship guy. And with Marvel Comics, I would say pretty universally that Captain America is their flagship guy, sort of Iron Man, but like more so Captain America. Spawn was the Image Comics guy. He was the banner guy.
Okay. I've never heard of this, ever.
Yeah, it's a pretty, like, if you're not a comic book person, Spawn is not a thing that anyone would care about. This movie was the thing. There was, like, some video games, I think, that were... This may be totally made up out of my head. I kind of remember there being some video games that I think people kind of liked about Spawn, but I could be wrong. But yeah, so it's not part of, like, the big two comic houses. Like, you're not into comics at all, really, and you don't... How are... Jesus Christ, I can't fucking speak. How much are you into, like, comic book movies, like Marvel movies, basically?
Marvel I actually haven't seen a whole lot of. I've seen a few here and there. Right. I just saw the recent Spider-Man one. That was pretty good.
Yeah, I actually haven't seen that yet. Well, you could identify a fair number of superheroes, though, right? Like, you could identify, like, start naming off some superheroes for me. Just any.
Superman, Batman,
DC,
Iron
DC,
Man,
Marvel,
the Flash,
DC,
Aquaman,
Marvel, both actually.
Spiderman.
Who?
Spiderman.
No, that is something that you masturbate to. We both know it. No, but yeah. So like that's everybody who knows superheroes generically, they know what from Marvel or DC because they're the ones who've gotten movies and TV shows. And Image Comics went nowhere. They're just comics. They're very successful comics. I don't quite know why. But I guess it's a comic book thing I wouldn't understand. I don't really know. But yeah, they came out at a time where it was like a turning point in comics where they were getting more edgy and violent and trying to make themselves more of a, not just a, like, it's the truth, justice, and American way sort of thing, you know? So Spawn is this edgy demon guy who he works for the Lord of Hell, but he's not a bad guy and blah, blah, fucking blah. We'll get into it with the whole movie because there's no need for me to tell his backstory. The movie is his origin story, air quotes. But yeah, so the property itself is the king of the edgelords. For those of you who understand what that means, it's dark, brooding, cool guy, slays a lot of puss kind of guy. That's where we're at here.
Slays a lot of puss.
Slays a lot of puss. Slays as much puss as shirtless Sephiroth does. But yeah, so we'll get into it. You'll kind of see what I'm talking about. But it's in this time where this movie was made, when it was at the height of like its popularity, and it was, you know, as much as I'm going to mock it and make fun of it, and it was and still is very popular in the comics industry. Like, Spawn does well. It doesn't make the kind of money that a Disney-backed Marvel might make, but it makes, you know, it sells well to this day. And I think there's kind of a reason for that. And I have the few nice things I have to say about it are visually wise. I think his design is kind of cool. I think it's kind of, it sort of holds up, like the character's costume design, but we'll get into that. So anyway, I don't have anything else to say about this movie. Well, I mean, besides the plot, which I'm trying not to recap as hard as I can. It didn't do well in the box office. I mean, it made money because comic book movies always make money, but like, it was reviewed very poorly. It made $87.9 million against a production budget between $40 and $45 million, so it about doubled its money. But still, it didn't go anywhere. And Todd McFarlane, being one of those guys who is like firmly, my property's the best, and only I can control it, and it's going to be, I'm going to make a movie no matter what, has been making a reboot movie for, well, this came out in 97. So since about 98, since about January of 98, he's been threatening to make another movie. And apparently Jamie Foxx is attached to it. And I'm a big fan of his after Django. So it might be, be better. Apparently he's a big fan of Spawn. I don't care, but I guess I can't dodge it any longer. So fucking, of all the superhero movies I've ever seen, this is one of them. Of all the superhero movies that I've ever personally seen, it's probably the worst one. And I just saw Eternals, and I thought that sucked a dick. So, anyway, we open on some cool, kick-ass, awesome, rad fire graphics over top of images of peace and war, like a dove, or soldiers, or the image of that house being destroyed by the atom bomb that is in every time there's a movie about the end of the world, they show that clip of that house disintegrating. It's a cool clip, but I've seen it a billion times in every movie ever made. There's a voiceover by a very serious man who tells us about the darkness and the light and the battles betwixt them, as we are treated to an image of what might be the worst constructed CGI demon ever made. This demon's name is Malbogia, and it looks like it was constructed of about 7 polygons by a man who's never worked with CGI before. If you gave me 3 weeks, a fucking copy of whatever the goddamn CGI program in 1996 was, and told me to make a demon, this is probably what I'd be able to produce with no training. It looks horrible. And as such, never does anything the entire movie other than sort of swaying around, not moving its mouth when it talks, and occasionally swinging an arm very slowly.
Like all demons do. So
Malbogia is our main-ish villain. I don't think it's supposed to be the devil, but I think it essentially is the devil. I'm guessing, if you fucking care about Spawn lore, the devil is probably a bigger, tougher demon who's somewhere else doing something else. You know, you always got to leave room for a bigger bad, and if you're starting with hell, you might as well leave Satan as the bigger boss somewhere later. I hate God.
For the sequel.
Right. Well, no, yeah, well, I mean, Malbogia is still alive at the end of this movie, but whatever. But he's more or less our mainish villain, who has sent his lieutenant, which is basically the main villain, here played by gigantically fat evil clown John Leguizamo, who I don't know. It's a name I've heard for my entire life, but other than the shitty Super Mario Brothers movie, I don't know anything he's in. I realized I don't know anything about his career. So,
I just know him because of the name, because it's such a weird name.
Well, in this movie, he plays this, like, comedically fat, like, there would be a TLC show about how fat this man is in this movie.
So is he in a giant fat suit?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, he would not be able to walk otherwise. It's enormous. So yeah, it's a big fat suit. We'll get to him later. Throughout the entire movie, we'll get to him. I can't escape him. But he is playing this fat clown, which I'll get to his appearance in a bit, but other than being fat. And so Malbogia, the CGI terrible demon, has sent John Leguizamo to corrupt the hearts of evil men to destroy the world. And the evil man most desired by hell. By the way, we're seeing all this as like the camera is like going down a fire tunnel, which I don't know how else to describe it other than fire tunnel, but if you watch Spawn, you'll know exactly what I mean. The man they're trying to corrupt most is played by Martin Sheen, who I don't remember is he the father or brother of Charlie Sheen? I don't remember.
Father.
He's the father of Charlie Sheen.
Emilio Estevez and Charlie Sheen are brothers.
Yes, and he is the lead character in The West Wing is probably his most fondly remembered thing, which I have never seen, but it's on my list. I've heard it's excellent. Mm-hmm. So yeah, Martin Sheen is playing our human villain. And apparently, according to our narration, the last thing Malbogia is going to need is a general to lead the armies of hell against the hosts of heaven, thus kickstarting the apocalypse. So the stakes are high, I guess. We see at some random airport what I can presume is a hitman has snuck into the flight tower and killed the men inside with his guns that shoot smaller guns that shoot tiny penises to show how big his hard his cock is. I don't know where I'm going with that.
Well, that's how you get pussy.
Yeah, that's how you smash puss. He sets up some 90s version of a futuristic rocket launcher, and while looking through night vision goggles, blows up a plane way across the tarmac to kill some stereotypically Middle Eastern man getting out of a private jet. While the missile flies, we see some concerned-looking man in a hat watching the missile's flight path with a frown. As his getup vaguely resembles what appears to be a cross between Indiana Jones and The Exorcist, I have a feeling that he is our stern-voiced narrator that we got over the opening crawl telling us about the war between heaven and hell. After the plane explodes, the hitman pulls off his murdering hood and his night vision goggles to reveal that he is played by Michael Jai White, a somewhat famous martial arts star who has been in a variety of movies, but never really broke into much beyond the B-movie level. Though he does star in Black Dynamite, which was a great movie when I was 20, but now that I'm older, I'm not certain would hold up quite as well. This does mean, however, that Michael Jai White was the first African-American actor to portray a major comic book superhero in a film, so regardless of anything else to do with this movie, that's kind of cool. Yeah, you know, hey.
Credit where credit's due.
Good on you for opening the door. I did not know Spawn was... I knew Spawn existed before I watched this movie, and that's it. I just knew he existed. He was an edgy demon guy. I didn't know it was even a human, but apparently he was a black man underneath the hood, so whatever.
Is he... Do you know if he's canonically black in the comics?
I believe so, yeah.
Okay.
That is with the world's briefest Googling, because I didn't, like I said, I only knew that Spawn existed. I think I looked up his Wikipedia page just to be like, is this thing still around or did it die in like 2003? But nope, still around making money. Shockingly. So anyway, he blows up the plane and then he blows up the flight tower he was in. Like every airport has like the tower in it. He blows that up to get rid of the evidence, I guess, or just because explosions are cool. This is the 90s.
Well, they are cool.
Speaking of, the explosion turns into more fire tunnel as the narration from before continues. It starts with the words, like him indicating Jai White, I kill in the name of good. What the fucking hell does that mean when in the context of this, Michael Jai White came into this airport and basically shot in cold blood what I assume is two just TSA agents, essentially, to then blow up a plane, which, okay, maybe the guy in the plane, maybe the stereotypical Middle Eastern man was a bad guy, I guess, but these random airport dudes just seem like random airport dudes. I don't believe they were armed. They were just guys that he shot to get a better, like, position. I don't know. It's dumb.
Well, maybe they're like the type of people who don't use turn signals, so they deserve to be killed anyway.
Yeah, people who don't use turn signals should probably be executed as criminals of state. I agree.
He kills for good, just like we do here at Bowels of Movie Night.
I've never killed for anything but my own self-interest. So we do see that the narrator is, in fact, the Indiana Jones exorcist-looking motherfucker we briefly saw earlier, who says that he used to be corrupted, but rescued his soul from darkness, and now he keeps an eye on others like him, whatever that means. He says that men are the ones who create evil on Earth, and that this is the test, which launches into the most 90s intro sequence ever made as we continue down the fire tunnel. It's really outrageous. Like, we get this terrible 90s techno rock which is like but is more 90s than that.
So cool.
The credits are like flashing in and out and all edgy and angular and like you can't keep your eye on them too long because they keep moving around and I hate the 90s, Isaac. I hate it. You hate the 80s and I hate the 90s.
We both hate the decades we were born in.
I know. Is that indicative of some manner of self-loathing, or
no,
just
is the self-loathing?
Have the last 30 years just all been bad?
No. The last 4.5 billion years on this planet have all been bad.
There was probably 1 or 2 good years in there. I don't know.
Yeah, before fucking Eve jacked it up eating that apple. Sorry, I said 4.5 billion. I meant 6,000.
Yeah,
Sorry.
Yeah, right. The dinosaurs are a test of your faith, much like Spawn's test of faith in this movie.
Well, the Jews put the dinosaur bones down there to
make
money.
Just imagine like ye old Jewish conspiracy company in like whatever fucking 4 BC, just with fucking old cranes. Like, that's it, back it up, lowering plaster dinosaur bones into the ground. Fucking religion's the worst. You're all insane people.
Well, Larry, the whole dinosaur conspiracy thing, Who directed Jurassic Park?
M. Night Shyamalan. Everybody knows
No,
that.
Mr. Steven Spielberg, the world's biggest Jew.
Now I'm thinking of Fat John Leguizamo just fighting him for the title of world's biggest Jew. This is unlistenable, right? No one's going to hear this, right? I wouldn't listen to this episode. God.
All our listeners are Kansans.
Oh, yeah. I thought it was Kentucky, or I always get that wrong, don't I?
I think it's Kansas.
I don't care. Stop listening. Do something else. Yeah, and over the credits also there's like fire and explosions, and like we occasionally zoom in on like Catholic statues and sculptures of demons and shit, because that's the 90s. It's the 90s in a nutshell, is fucking gothic edginess in comics. We're in for a ride here. We start with footage of the airport bombing over top of a news report saying that the man killed was the leader of a revolutionary front, and the explosion also killed 26 innocent civilians. So, yeah, killing in the name of good, huh?
All of them didn't use turn signals and ate grapes at grocery stores before they purchased them.
You can't kill people for that, Isaac, because people I love eat grapes at grocery stores. Then I have to kill you. Then it's all right.
No, I don't do it.
You just said I
don't.
can.
Wait, what?
What? Fuck, forget it.
Do you eat grapes at grocery stores before you pay for them?
No.
All right, I don't have to kill you.
All right, well, people I care about do. And it's a small
they
pool
deserve
of people
to die.
No, I don't think so. I disagree.
That's theft. Walmart needs that money.
Yeah, we're really putting them out. Clearly. All right, okay. So, yeah, one guy who may or may not have had bad intentions, along with 26 civilians murdered in a strike. Tell me without telling me that you're an agent of the United States government. We cut to Martin Sheen watching the news footage, who proclaims that White, Michael Jai White, is the best. He's speaking to somebody in the shadows that we only see in silhouette, but it's very clearly Fat Clown John Leguizamo. I mean, we saw him flashing in the fire tunnel narration earlier. Like, clear as day. It was not a surprise. The narration even says, this is the bad guy's second in command, who's also a bad guy. Look at him. Here he is. He's a fat clown. But then now, the first scene in the plot, Leguizamo's like in the shadow, like the fucking smoking man in X-Files in the shadows. Like, it's clearly him. It's a giant fat clown. Give me a break. So
when you say clown, like clown?
So I think I have it later, but let me just go there right now. So Leguizamo's like in a giant fat suit. He's wearing like I think it's like he's wearing like a leather jacket with like flames down the arms, and I think he has a Hawaiian shirt underneath it, but I may be making that up. Jeez. But he has like the cartoony 3 tufts of hair, like 1 straight up, 2 straight out to the sides.
Krusty the Clown.
And his yeah, exactly. And his face has like this sort of like blue kind of mask design. It's like kind of angular.
What the fuck?
But it's yeah, and he also like his character's name for now is Clown. And he is sort of it's like a demon clown. Like a hell clown is what I would. It's dumb. It's the 90s. It's dumb. Nothing's anything but dumb. And I'm going to slip between calling him Leguizamo and Clown because I just can't. His performance is that of a clown, and Leguizamo's a long name.
Well, I just looked up a picture, and good God.
Yeah, you see what I mean? It's
seriously.
Yeah, it's hard to describe. He's definitely
That's
a
really
clown, but it's like
too.
Yeah, it's 90s as fuck. A leather jacket with flames down the arms. I mean,
Jesus.
That is 1995 in a nutshell. So, yeah, Leguizamo tells he's talking to Martin Sheen, and he says that Martin Sheen says that Michael Jai White is overseas killing the bad guys because he thinks he's a good guy. 26 civilians dead literally 15 seconds prior to this scene, but I guess the 90s were just a different time. Clown and Sheen argue about a biological weapon that Sheen promised Clown, which is taking over 5 years to develop. Sheen is so evil that his office contains framed pictures of explosions. He has like, you know how like people, there's the joke of like the wall with the motivational poster that's like, it'd be teamwork, and it shows people jumping out of an airplane, that kind of thing.
Yeah, or a little kitten hanging on a clothesline, hanging in there, baby.
Instead of that, imagine just an atomic bomb explosion just framed on the wall lovingly.
Well, now I know what I'm going to do with my home office.
I mean, it's so comedically evil that I kind of want to do that too. But, I don't know, the 90s were a different time. Sheen and Clown make more evil plans, and Clown tells Sheen that White is to be recruited for Clown instead of working for Sheen. I hope that made sense, because those names were in there twice each. It'll make sense more in a couple minutes, but wait, no, I'm wrong. It really never will. Cut to a generic guy reading a paper about the bombing when we see a lady backing out of her house in a convertible to talk to him. The two have generic banter, but all I can notice is the fucking Leguizamo's clown face is on the air freshener that's hanging in the mirror of the car. It's not like a generic clown. It's Leguizamo, the clown. What is the point of that? Because here's a hint. It never comes up again. Never
he has his
again.
Own brand of air fresheners?
It never affects the plot in any way.
He's like a demon, right?
Yes.
What?
If he... Okay, so Leguizamo is like... He's kind of the goofball villain. So if it was a bit and he said, like, on my off time, I sell air fresheners. That's the kind of joke he would make. Then at least it'd be like, fine, whatever, John. Whatever you say.
Yeah.
But the fact that it's never brought up again really irritates me. Even if it's like, it would be a very 90s plot to be like, I put my musk on my air freshener and your wife's been breathing it in, and now she's got ass cancer. That is the kind of thing they would do. Ass cancer would be the punchline of that joke.
I love that voice, Larry.
I did not try it before, and it's not a bad Leguizamo clown voice, but it is ripping up my throat, and I only did it for about 4 seconds. I feel like I just deep-throated a horse. That really hurts.
Oh, man. I was going to say you should re-officiate my wedding vows with that voice, but maybe that won't work.
No, it'll be worth it. So, yeah. Well, okay, anyway. So, yeah, I don't know. That really bothered me with the fucking air freshener. White comes out of the house, so this lady must have been his significant other, wife, girlfriend, I don't know, based on their banter. White plays with his dog for a minute before getting in the car with the generic guy. This guy is Terry, and he is apparently White's best friend. They banter about the bombing, and Terry is upset that the civilians were killed, placing the blame in Martin Sheen's feet. So they both must work for Sheen in some capacity or other. White seems a little upset about the civilians dead, but not that upset. We also learn that he's at least a former Marine, if not a current Marine, which we'll get to in a minute. They drive past the Indiana Jones exorcist guy who just briefly glows with a green outline in broad daylight, not unlike the Last Dragon glow. That's how bad of an effect it is. And yeah, just broad daylight in the middle of the street, the guy's just glowing green, and nobody fucking says a word.
Well, all right then.
White and Terry go into the heavily guarded building that Sheen is in. White marches into Sheen's office and starts harassing him about the civilians, saying that Sheen was supposed to have them clear. I guess he is upset about it, but I don't know, because he still murders those very seemingly not evil dudes in the flight tower, so he doesn't seem to be that broken up about it. But the idea is that the civilians were an accident and he didn't know that would happen, but like, he still just shot those guys, so I'm not convinced. I don't know. But White tells Sheen that if Sheen wants Carnage to send the other hitman, who turns out to be a hit woman, played by Melinda Clarke, most famously Julie Cooper in The O.C., a show I can sort of sheepishly say I watched all of for reasons I still don't quite understand.
I would not have guessed that.
Much like what was H2O, just add water, I will watch anything if I see enough of it. So
you psychopath.
It's a problem. It's a real problem in my life. I'll watch garbage if I get far enough in to know how it ends. So, yeah, I can't see this woman as anything other than Julie Cooper, so she's going to be called Julie Cooper. Julie says she has no problem more or less butchering anybody who Sheen tells her to kill, so clearly she's also a villain. Sheen chews White out, but White says he's not a psychopath and he doesn't want to be part of this anymore. Sheen helpfully exposits White's psych profile, telling us that White is a borderline psychopath with no guilt and no fear. Martin Sheen smokes black cigarettes and has an ashtray that contains several live scorpions, which fight.
Why?
Isaac, I think Martin Sheen might be the villain.
Yeah.
I could not focus on anything else other than how ridiculously and obviously evil this guy screams with every fiber of his being. Besides he's got his fucking femme fatale killing machine, an ashtray full of scorpions, and lovingly framed pictures of explosions. It really draws attention away from whatever bullshit plot he's trying to tell me about. White is insistent he won't be part of this anymore. I think it's a government agency, but it's never really made clear what the fuck Sheen is in charge of, but either whether or not it's a private contractor or a government arm, it's work more or less on behalf of the U.S. government that Sheen is twisting to his own ends. It's also unhelpfully called A6, which again could be anything. That could mean anything. Sheen says he will grant White a transfer after one last job, blowing up a North Korean chemical plant making weapons. White reluctantly agrees, and we cut straight there, thankfully. Generic secret agent sneaking in stuff here. White gets to the plant, has a knife fight with a guy that's very generic. White goes to the main chemical area to find the soldiers have already been killed, and the place is rigged to explode. Martin Sheen and Julie Cooper appear, and Sheen gives his evil speech that once he blows up the plant nearby, the town will become an experimental host for the virus, which he reveals he developed and is what is being kept at this facility. White tries to shoot Sheen, but eats a fusillade of machine gun bullets from Cooper, who then sprays him with flammable goo. I wish I had a better explanation. Flammable goo just out of this gun.
Is it napalm?
It might be. Does napalm explode, or is it just very flammable?
I think flammable goo is like the appropriate description.
Maybe it's napalm then. I don't know. But
I don't think you shoot napalm out of a gun.
Yeah, I don't know. But she's got like, it's like a gun that has like a goo barrel as well. It's alt fire mode. If you press Y, you switch to goo mode.
Oh, okay.
As Sheen tells White that he will take good care of his woman like a proper villain. Folks, at the Larry Beard School of Villainy, we teach is that you don't need to quip. You can just kill your enemies in utter silence. You will be 45% more effective. It's simple math. So then they set White on fire and blow the whole chemical plant up, and White's dead. He's dead as fuck. So we see him falling down the fiery tunnel in flames, screaming, "Wanda!" the name of his wife, who was the one we saw for 30 seconds with the clown air freshener. The scene cuts to black, and we suddenly cut to a stormy alley where a burned-to-shit White is lying in a pile of trash and is woken up by fat clown John Leguizamo. I hate this movie, Isaac. I hate it. But I will give credit to White's makeup team, because he certainly doesn't look like the handsome, suave man he did before. He looks burned to shit. It's solid makeup work. I have no complaints. Because it's like,
I actually have a picture of it pulled up next to John Leguizamo, fat clown, and it looks pretty good. Mm-hmm. It's intimidating.
Yeah, it's a good practical. Intimidating is a great word. He looks very intimidating, like, because his nose is like flattened. It looks like he was in a terrible explosion. So they did good work there. My biggest compliments to this whole movie are the like prop and makeup team, because for the most part they nail it. They do a good job. Whoever did the CGI should be never allowed to work in Hollywood again. So Clown gives some of his typical fare, which we'll get to in a second, as White tries to figure out what the hell happened. Get it? What the hell happened, Isaac?
Oh boy,
hell happened. He's a demon, stumbling around in pain as we see what appears to be is in what. I consider myself a smart man and decent with words. Who do I have to blow to be able to speak them?
Me.
It's not you. You're just trying to trick me into sucking your dick for the 6th time.
Well, if one of the other ones would have worked, I wouldn't have to do it now.
All right, so he's like in the ruins of a very like old Gothic church in some generic city. Spawn and I want to say Image Comics in general have a very neo-Gothic atmosphere to them. I'm not a fan of that whole sort of weird sort of like subgenre of fantasy. I've never really liked that. I don't know. Something about it doesn't sit well with me. You
never had a goth phase in high school, right?
No. I mean, I'm talking like fucking historically Gothic, not Hot Topic goth. I mean like big, gigantic churches, steeples, very Catholic influences, very sort of like brutal, not brutalism, the architect, but just like very, I don't know. I can't like look up Gothic architecture and then imagine that in comic books. And that's the easiest thing I can tell you to do. But I don't know. I'm not a fan of that art style. So anyway, he's kind of stumbling around in pain because he's fucking a flaming mess, basically. He sees his reflection in a puddle and his eyes are glowing green and he never thinks to question that. A little kid offers him a soda and tells White that this alley is called Rat City. Suddenly, the old Indiana Jones exorcist man shows up again, glowing briefly green for a second, which, again, nobody questions, and explains to White that he's been gone a long time, and this is a quote-unquote holy place. This alley full of bums. I guess, is a holy place.
Yeah, well, if they need crack, it's a holy place.
White keeps stumbling around as an extremely edgy 90s song starts. It's real rough. And this one has words, too, so it's just...
Is it Barbie Girl?
Yes, the
Okay,
edgiest of 90s songs. That wasn't Barbie Girl like 2003.
I don't know, man.
I gotta look it up now. Aqua Barbie Girl. Yeah, fuck, it was actually 1997. It was the same year. Oh my god. Fucking god damn it. The same year, too. Son of a bitch. All right, well, I earned that one. So, yeah, White is pretty much just stumbling around with no destination. Indiana Jones' exorcist offers White to join them. Not sure who them is, but whatever. White declines, saying that he has a home, and shuffles off. The narration begins again, and Indiana Jones' exorcist says that a new Spawn has been born. His memories fragmented, but also it's been 5 years, apparently, off-screen, which just happens, I guess. So, okay. We're going to get into the overarching plot and the nonsense plan of the villains in this movie, but it's going to take a bit before we can wrap it all together. And, God, it's so stupid. So, all right. Henceforth, White is going to be called Spawn because he's basically a social pariah now that he's a man that's covered in fire burns. And when he's not in his, even when he's not in his Spawn getup, he's Spawn. Fuck it, it's just easier to say Spawn. So he's basically he works for the devil now too. So Spawn wanders through town to his old house where we see a birthday party is underway. The clown at the birthday party is very obviously like Zombo because no other clown has ever been that fat and able to get a job. Even though he's in more or less regular, more generic clown getup, it's very clearly like Zombo. Spawn sees that Wanda, his wife, is now kissing Terry, his best friend, and apparently they have a kid together. Spawn does not know it's been 5 years, by the way. He has a spasm of pain and falls over, only to be found by what I assume is his daughter. This is never brought up or mentioned before. According to Wikipedia, it is Spawn's daughter, even though at this point I was not sure if it was his daughter or Terry and Wanda's daughter.
So he dumped a load up in them guts before he got burned up?
So what we're going to... Yes, that is correct. Here's the problem, is that when I watched this movie the first time, I fell asleep 4 times trying to watch. I kept falling asleep. And it was not late. It was like 10 p.m., which for me is early. So I could not keep my fucking eyes open watching this movie. So when I watched it the first time, I somehow missed... I forgot the daughter existed entirely. When I started watching it the second time, I forgot the daughter existed. So the next paragraph in my review was me sort of appreciating the movie was... Because Spawn's whole reason for doing everything he does is to get back with his wife. But I'm like, but he's got this daughter that was not mentioned before the movie started, like before now. Like this is the first time we see the daughter. I forgot that we learn later that exactly what you said. He fucky coming up in those guts. That's smart. And then she had the kid after. And then, she was a single mother, and the best friend was like, get me a slice of that pie. But not really. We'll get into that later. But yeah, so I thought it was kind of clever to be like, make it so that it's sort of like what I'm going to call well-written edge, in that he doesn't really care that he has a daughter, but he has like a wife, and he cared about her, and he wanted to get back to her, and the daughter was like, he was sort of not even a reluctant father, just like I don't care. I've got the kid was a product of my wife. It doesn't matter. Which I thought, would have been interesting for a hero to not necessarily be a good guy, but a good guy, but not a good guy. Kind of more like the Punisher for anybody who doesn't know Marvel. Sort of the same thing. Like he is ostensibly a good guy. He's a real fucking dickhead, and he kills a lot of people, and some of them don't deserve it. But like, I thought that was a sort of interesting take and might be acceptable edge that he has a daughter, but he's like, I don't care about my daughter. What's my wife doing? But it turns out that's not the case. So I wasted a lot of time trying to put my thoughts in order on paper. And then it didn't end up mattering because I fucking fell asleep because this stupid movie's terrible. Anyway, yeah. So Spawn is fucking at this party with the daughter and Wanda and Terry, and he gets a spasm of pain, and he passes out in front of the daughter, and Wanda and Terry start freaking out because there's basically a burned up homeless man in their yard wearing a jacket he literally got out of the trash, who's like groaning in pain and weakly saying Wanda's name. So, admittedly, if I was a father and my daughter was being clutched at by a burned man on the ground, I'd be a little upset. So I can understand.
We're very different people.
The scary part is you are far more likely to have a child than I ever will. Leguizamo's clown arrives and takes ownership of Spawn, claiming he's part of the clown act. Leguizamo's a creepy weirdo, and how on fucking earth was he ever allowed to be children dressed as a normal clown is beyond me. So Clown takes Spawn to an alley who is having angry flashbacks about his former life while in pain. Clown takes off his clown getup to reveal his other clown getup, which, like I said, consists of a leather jacket with a bunch of buttons on it, 3 cartoony tufts of hair, blah, blah, blah. So John Leguizamo is Clown. He never shuts up, ever. He never stops talking. It's bit after bit after bit after bit after bit after bit after bit. It never stops. It never.
I'm sure they're all good, right?
Not one of them is good. Not one. He's filled with 90s style PG-13 quips and just never shuts the fuck up. It's all I want is for John Leguizamo to stop talking. And he never does. He never does. He is meant to be like Spawn's... he's the devil on Spawn's shoulder, basically. Like, he is meant to guide Spawn down the path to evil. I know we don't know why Spawn's fucking back or anything. We're going to learn shortly. So he is like the guardian devil of Spawn, basically. He spends much of this movie just sort of hanging around Spawn, trying to get him to be bad, and basically annoy him into being a villain. That's part of the plot. That's not me making this up. Part of the plot is for Leguizamo to annoy Spawn into villainy. I'm not kidding.
Well, to be fair, you've been annoyed into villainy.
It's working. I would be a villain. I would be a bad Spawn. Oh, God. Yeah, my next line I wrote is, I can tell you honestly, this tactic would work on me. So Clown starts eating junk food out of the trash and farts because farts are funny, as our dear Isaac can tell you. He loves farts.
They are.
And it's a big green CGI cloud of fart. And he's like, oops, was that me? And then later he farts twice. He goes, ooh, twins.
I like this.
It's like the horse is really fucking my throat.
Jeez.
Wow, that voice is murder. It's genuinely going to kill me. Holy crap. Yeah, and I would tell you every line of the movie if given enough time, but I can't with Clown. I can't. Most of them are unfunny and they never stop. So just assume at any given point, fucking Leguizamo's Clown is making bad jokes. Spawn complains that it feels like he's going to explode, and Clown tells him that it is his, quote, viral ectoplasm in its larval state, unquote. If that's not the most terrifying prelude to a superpower I've ever heard, I don't know what is. Clown tells Spawn that he's dead and it's been 5 years since he exploded in North Korea. Clown also has the power to summon flashbacks as he takes Spawn back to his memory to show what happened after he died. After White fell through the fire tunnel, which leads to hell, by the way, he lands in hell in front of Malbogia, the terrible CGI devil demon. By the way, let's talk about hell real quick. The hell of the Spawn universe appears to be a bunch of floating, like, magma rocks over top of just a terrible CGI background of just chaos. Just fire, stone, chaos. It's all red and fiery. There's nothing. It's just like this weird floating hellscape of nothing. Like, it's so lame. Words can't describe how lame it is. But Malbogia is this giant fuck-all demon, and he offers White a bargain. If White becomes Spawn and leads the army of hell, he can be allowed to see Wanda again, which White says he will do anything for. Yeah, this is where I went into the whole being a baby daddy and blah, blah, blah. So part of the problem here is that what I just said with, like, where he goes to hell, Malbogia's like, be my general, and Spawn's like, if I can see Wanda, sure. That's it. I didn't cut anything out. Like, it's literally 4 lines. And then, but the problem is, like, his whole bit with White is, I need to be with Wanda again. It's the only thing I care about, and that persists through the whole movie. Do you know how much screen time they had in the movie together before he died and became Spawn?
45 minutes.
0 seconds. They're not on screen together in one shot.
Oh my God.
Which, yeah, I get you're trying to get... This is early in the movie. You're trying to get Spawn in the movie fast, which I can appreciate in some way. It's not... We don't have to get fucking 45 minutes before Chris Evans puts on the goddamn Captain America shield, for Christ's sake. I get it. You want to get to it faster. But maybe one scene...
Yeah.
Like one scene of him and his wife being like, let's settle down, or I'm pregnant, maybe. How about that? Larry said, not annoyed at all. Just anything. Like, give me something, dude. Why does he care about Wanda? She was in one scene, and all I could stare at in that whole scene was fucking Leguizamo's face. So, hang on. I just need to kill myself. That Leguizamo voice, it's gonna be the death of me.
You might have to stop.
Holy shit. I've done a lot of voices for the show over the years. This one is fucking murder. It's like swallowing glass.
You should go gargle some warm milk.
I should have tried it before we started recording. God damn. Wow, I'm like tearing up just for speaking.
Well, it's just because you love this movie so much. It's all the emotions.
Yeah, you got me. That's it. Okay, so so White says he'll become Spawn if he gets to see Wanda again, and Malbogi's like, great, you're Spawn now. Go kill Martin Sheen. Avenge your own murder. And he's like, great. And also Clown is supposed to be Spawn's handler. Why Malbogia decided not to give Spawn either knowledge of his mission, knowledge of the world, why it's been 5 years, what the plan is, any of his powers and how to use them, or anything else is beyond me. Instead, he fucking hucks him into an alley 5 years later, and then good luck, asshole. Stupid.
Sure.
So we get more Clown and Spawn antics as Spawn is trying to figure out just what the fuck is going on. Clown teleports them to a graveyard in front of Spawn's grave, tossing Spawn a shovel to dig up his own corpse. The shovel has a face on it, which looks at Spawn and says, start digging. I can't do the voice. Because shovels with faces are cool, I guess.
Well, back in the 90s, it was all the rage.
Back in the
Hogs,
90s, I was in a
shovels with
very
faces.
famous TV show. Nearby, there's a group of nerds doing some kind of fake 90s satanic ritual to get power, which is so 90s it hurts. They even have like a staff with a skull on it. And I swear to God, one of them says, whoa, man. Spawn digs up his grave and it finds his corpse, which briefly chokes him for a second before disintegrating, which is never explained. He finds some locket with he and Wanda's pictures in it, which is glowing green again for some reason that's never explained. The ritual nerds come over and try to mess with the gigantic clown and horribly burned man because this is the 90s where generic, easily defeatable street toughs were literally not afraid of anything, including anthropomorphic turtles and anything. And literally anything. A generic street tough is not afraid of it. The two groups briefly scrap, and Spawn suddenly sprouts a costume out of himself, which Clown tells us is necroflesh. Two words that don't go together, which is idiotic. A sort of armor made out of your own flesh, which has an array of powers. Now, character design-wise, I think Spawn looks fine. I don't think it's overly silly or particularly cool. While it isn't in this scene, one of his hallmarks is a truly gigantic flowing red cape. Like, it's nonsensically huge. I think that it's technically dumb, but I also kind of like gigantic capes, so I think it looks kind of cool. I don't know. Spawn's design is not bad. For as edgy and stupid as the character is and his powers are, like, I think it looks okay. So I don't really have any complaints. And again, I think the makeup department and the prop department did good. It looked like his armor looks like it's made of flesh. Like, which is, it's like not smooth. It's not like Batman's armor. It's like rough and ridgy and kind of shitty looking because it's made out of weird necroflesh. So again, I think it's a good job. And I think as far as translating Spawn from comic books into the screen, they did a good job there. That's really my only nice thing I have to say about the whole movie is they do a good job with the makeup and the props. So anywho, yeah, he's got his costume on now. God, I wrote a bunch that I don't even care about. I don't even care, Isaac. Why did I bother? Why did I write 9 pages about any of this? I've barely read any of it. I've just been spouting shit on my brain. Clown uses the living shovel to knight him on the shoulders like the queen knighting, I don't know, pedophiles? There's a bunch of pedophiles over there, right?
Yeah, her son.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking of. So, yeah, he knights him as Spawn, the general of hell. Clown then warps them back to the alley and wanders off after he eats a slice of pizza out of the trash that's covered in maggots because he's a creepy bad guy and they like bad stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Spawn is mad and beats up random walls and trash in the alley, learning a bit more about his powers. Indiana Jones Exorcist shows up again, revealing to Spawn that he too was a Spawn or something similar to a Spawn, named Cagliostro, which is the most Catholic fakey fake name that I've ever heard, but I also kind of like it. But maybe that's because of the 90s fan in me. I don't know. Or that there's a Lupin the Third movie called Castle of Cagliostro. I don't fucking know. It's a cool... Cagliostro is fun to say. Say it.
Yes. Cagliostro.
Doesn't it sound good in your fucking mouth?
Does.
It does.
It does.
Yeah. And then he kind of warns Spawn not to be a bad guy, but Spawn decides to leave to be a bad guy anyway. And then Cagliostro just pulls out a bitchin' 90s sword and just doesn't do anything. He just pulls it out and stands there, and the scene shifts. I fucking hate the 90s so much. All right, we cut to A6, Martin Sheen's organization, which is some measure of evil. We see a bunch of patrolling armed guards around the place as inside Sheen and Cooper watch Terry do PR work to try and improve the image of A6 with the media. Sheen pulls out a tiny CD which has, in label maker labels, the words Special Ops on it. I like the idea of Sheen, fat cat evil bad guy, fumbling with a label maker to make sure he knows which one of his evil plans is which. It's a funny image in my head. He shows Julie what's on the disc, which is his designer bioweapon called Heat 16. Definitely not a reference to Ice 9 from Cat's Cradle.
I was just thinking
Todd
that.
McFarlane, you fucking hack. Heat 16 is basically super Ebola that has the power to devastate the entire world. A little rough now, thinking about the pandemic we're in. Which he will use to hold the world hostage. Outside, Spawn fights a couple soldiers off screen. Lame. It's a superhero movie. Why is he not fighting the guys on screen? Why am I seeing Martin Sheen smoke a cigar instead of Spawn beating up guys? That's why I bought the ticket in 1997 with my Spawn t-shirt and my overpriced popcorn to watch Spawn punch a guy, but I didn't see the Spawn punch the guy, Isaac.
Yeah, but the cigarettes are black and they're scorpions.
Well, he actually is smoking a cigar in the scene. It's not even the scorpions. It's so dumb.
And given that it's 1997, it probably just came out of Monica Lewinsky's pussy.
It's true. When was that?
1997.
Jesus Christ. 1987 apparently was a very important year.
Darn tootin'. That was before I started masturbating.
Darn tootin', toot a coke. Darn tootin' coke. 97 was also before I started masturbating because I was 6.
It was such an innocent time.
It was. Was I happier or sadder? I don't think I could be any sadder than I am now.
Yeah, no, I must have been happier.
So yeah, anyways.
Cocks are kind of just a sadness crank.
You ever do a toot off a sadness crank? Because I haven't, let me tell you. Oh, fucking, what am I don't even care. All right, Terry comes in and Sheen's lying and blah, blah. No, I don't give a fuck. Sheen threatens to kill Wanda and the daughter if Terry does shit. I don't care. They leave the office and go to a party. Fuck it. I mean, I'm considering closing the fucking review and just freeballing it for the rest of it because I don't care about any of the words that I've written. I have no attachment to any of this. Fucking, they go to a party and shit, and Spawn shows up. It's a scene that takes way too long in this fucking party, and Spawn comes in through the ceiling glass because it's a superhero movie, and every superhero has to come through a glass ceiling at least once. Something, Hillary Clinton, I don't know.
That's one of the...
Go on.
That's... You got me with the Hillary Clinton line. But that's one of the things I really hate in movies, how... everyone can just go through like plate glass and have no visible injuries.
Yeah.
When in real life, you very easily can get cut up enough to bleed out in like 30 seconds.
Oh yeah.
If you crash through glass.
I watched when I over the holidays I was like ridiculously depressed because and I watched a bunch of Marvel movies the one day, and I watched Iron Man 2, one of the worst Marvel movies. And it's not. No, it's a bad movie. Who am I kidding? And at one point, they're in a big glass terrarium dome, and there's a bunch of robots breaking through it. And I'm just thinking, like, oh, everybody under there is dead. They're dead men and women because those shards of glass are fatal. It's not a thing you survive. But it's like they just cut away. You know, Iron Man goes through it, murders assuredly 100 people. I mean, like I had this is a very sad story. A girl I used to work with was in New York City the day of 9/11. Suffice it to say, I'll spare you the awful story she was involved in. But falling glass is very fatal, and she had horrifying details about how. So and that always bothered me too, because like he just goes through this fucking glass ceiling with no problems, and everybody under it's just like, oh no. Cover my eyes so it doesn't get in my eyes, but otherwise I'm fine. Even though I'm in a strapless dress, somehow I'm fine. So yeah, he fucking descends in, and he's got a gun up to Martin Sheen, and then he's yelling at him. Oh, by the way, one of his superpowers we find out right now is chains. Chains are coming out of his chest, and they recede into his armor when he gets down. Because he does the cool guy descent, he descends really slowly, and his cape is flowing around him, and he fucking hits the ground, and his chains go back into his body. We'll get there. One of his primary powers is chains. I said that the visual design looks okay, not the character overall. Spawn can suck a butt. We'll get to the chains later. He calls out Sheen and reveals that he is Michael Jai White and that Sheen sent him to hell. He also gives Terry the business for slipping into his wife after he died. And yeah, like we said, this is where I found out that I was wrong about the whole daughter thing, so fuck that. Anyway, Julie Cooper shows up and fills Spawn full of lead, but all it does is slow him down as the bullet wounds heal relatively quickly, because I guess he's some level measure of immortal. So Spawn jumps Julie and they fight. Isaac, the next sentence is not a joke. Julie goes to kick Spawn in the balls, but Spawn's belt, which is a skull, because of course it's a skull, shoots out to defend his crotch and bites Julie in the leg, preventing her from kicking his dick and balls.
I kind of wish I had one of those, though, to be fair.
While that alone is absurd, we saw earlier, when Spawn was in hell, that he has no dick and balls, as the flames and explosion burned them away. He's a Ken doll down there. So Spawn has a trap belt specifically designed to bait people into kicking his formless gunt. That is the funniest joke you have ever made. When you describe Mewtwo, I don't even remember what the first word was, just gunt. It's just the fucking Ken doll undercarriage. It's so funny to me.
Oh, God.
Oh, my God. Anyway, they keep fighting and exchange banter before Spawn shoots her dead. The clown shows up for some reason. A big group of generic guards come in to kill Spawn, who starts firing back with his twin machine guns like a real cool guy. I hate when superheroes just use guns.
Yeah.
He's just a guy. I mean, yeah, he's supposed to be a fucking, a great Marine and a fucking great hitman, but he's wearing this Spawn armor, which you can Google, just fucking Google it, and he's shooting guns. Fucking, what the hell? I don't give a shit about guns. It's a superhero movie. Use your chains or something. I don't know.
Or your skull penis protector.
Never comes up again. It just protects his gunt.
That's what she said.
Spawn gets shot out a window by a rocket, but is saved by his chains, which spring out and keep him clung to the side of the building. He morphs his hands into octopus tentacles and climbs up the side of the building to a landing. He's getting shot on all sides, and eventually kind of shimmies into a corner, where his cape wraps around him to make him invisible. And then it doesn't, which he never uses again. He's what? The cops are shooting at him. He kind of shimmies into a corner, and the cape wraps around him and he becomes invisible. And the cops are like, duh, where did he go? Where did he go? Where did Spawn go? And then the cape just stops being invisible, and then they're like, there he is, shoot him.
What's the point of that?
To annoy me. It worked. So, anyway, eventually he falls off the side of the building, and the cape just flies him away. I don't know if he did it on purpose. I don't care. He's then sulking. We see him off sulking on the edge of a building like Batman, while back at the party, we see Julie Cooper is being brought out on a stretcher. A paramedic, examines her and says, shot in the head, boss. And the other one says, oh, well, she's dead. Yeah, there's a gunshot wound in the dead center of her forehead. I'd say she's dead. Also, the rest of her body is riddled by machine gun fire.
Yeah. 'Tis but a scratch.
What the fuck? So Clown comes out. Clown comes up to meet Sheen, who looks vaguely devastated that Cooper is dead. Not sure why, since he's clearly a bad guy who doesn't care for the lives of his subordinates. But maybe he'll miss her hanging out in her skin-tight leather outfit. I don't know. Clown comes up and the two argue. Sheen is pissed that Spawn is alive and after him, but Clown assures him that Spawn will be on their side soon enough. Clown reveals that the reason they are trying to recruit Spawn is because he is, quote, the highest scoring killer of all time. Big air quotes on that one. And if hell didn't recruit him, heaven surely would. Also, he tells Sheen, Isaac, as stupid as you think it is now, it gets so much worse.
I don't understand.
Speaking of, Clown also tells Sheen they're going to fit his heart with a device that will set off all the Heat 16 bombs if Sheen's heart ever stops, so that he can't be assassinated without the entire world being destroyed.
Okay.
This is but one of 12 parts of a ridiculously complex plan. I can't wait to explain the plot to you. Just hang on, because we're not ready to yet. We don't know everything yet. So days later, we see Wanda's giving a speech at like a convention center about the disaster at the chemical plant years ago and all the terrible things that the released diseases did to people. Spawn is watching from the shadows and muses that he has always been a monster and didn't realize it. For some reason, not only the daughter, but also the family dog is just at this convention center, like in a basketball court, just hanging out. The dog recognizes Spawn, but Spawn and the daughter have like a moment together. For some reason, that just never makes any sense. In the rafters, not totally unknown to Spawn, he does not see him. The clown is there, dressed as a high school cheerleader, and starts doing a Spawn cheer. Like, S-P-A to the W-N. He's our man. He's our man. Why the voice? I can't. Why am I doing the voice?
Oh, my God.
I hate the 90s so much. And this really just seals it. This scene is so pointless and stupid. And let's make the guy in a fat suit dress up like a schoolgirl. That'll make our edgy 15-year-old audience really just cum their pants with laughter. What's wrong with me? Terrible CGI demon Malbogia must agree with me, because in the middle of the cheerleader dance, he pulls Leguizamo down to hell, and it's just like, what the fuck are you doing? Will you do your goddamn job and stop being a Moran? So he reminds the clown that his whole job is to make sure that Spawn leads the armies of hell. And again, words cannot describe how badly made this Malbogia model is. It is... His lips don't move. His mouth doesn't move. His mouth is just hanging open. The entire time, but he's still speaking. It's so dumb. It looks like it was made in 20 minutes. But, like, canonically, this is like the Joker to Spawn's Batman. Like, this is the guy. Like, Malbogia is the constant thorn in Spawn's side. And it looks like it was constructed in 20 minutes. Anyway...
Quality work.
Malbogia and Clown kind of argue. Clown is pissed that he wasn't the one to lead the armies of hell. It's all very tiring. Malbogia says that Spawn must choose to kill Sheen, and as such release the virus across the world. Just, again, I know, sit tight. We're not ready to explain the plot yet. We don't have all the pieces. Okay. This conference or whatever ends, Juan and the daughter are leaving. Terry comes in, tells them about the attack. They fucking leave. The dog's there. I don't care. Spawn is the dog now. That's the long and short of it. They go back to the alley that Indiana Jones exorcist Cagliostro lives in, and he has an interaction with the kid who was nice to him earlier and his dad. This whole thing with the kid is like, it never goes anywhere. I think the kid is supposed to be like his friend in the comics. So he's in a bunch of shots, but he never affects the plot. He's supposed to be like, not his young ward, but basically like his, hey, mister, even though you're a demon, I think you're a good guy, that kind of thing.
Okay.
So, but I'm not going to fucking even mention him again. He's around, but it doesn't matter. We get a brief scene here of Sheen getting his evil heart monitor installed by what must be the most evil team of surgeons of all time, since they now know that if this guy dies, the entire world is going to be destroyed. How do you... I don't care. I don't fucking... I can't wrap my head around... This guy is in league with the forces of hell, and no one even has a question to... Maybe we shouldn't put a heart monitor in his chest that will end the world if he dies. What if he fucking slips and falls down the stairs? What if he fucking chokes on a piece of hot dog? How much could they be getting paid to make it worth it? Not enough. Not enough. I mean, at least the Joker just wants to fuck with people. He doesn't want to destroy the world. You want to work for the Joker, I get it. Like, why would you work for this guy?
Might have a really good dental plan. I don't know.
I can't, Isaac. It's so stupid. It's so backwards ass stupid. I'm having a really hard time. I've seen worse movies than this, but I'm having a really hard time with it. I don't know why.
Your face is getting red, Larry.
Oh my god. All right, so yeah, while this surgery is happening, we see that Clown is watching it, and he is like gloating about how he orchestrated all the events that the whole world is going to be destroyed. So now is the time to describe the plot to you, Isaac, now that we're most of the way through the movie. So, Michael Jai White is the world's greatest hitman who works for Martin Sheen, and Martin Sheen is evil, and he is manipulating Michael Jai White to do evil tasks on behalf of the Lord of Hell to taint Michael Jai White's soul enough that he goes to hell because he might go to heaven accidentally. I'm not kidding.
Okay.
And then once he is in hell, they're going to offer him a Faustian deal that he can see his wife again if he leads the armies of hell, which he agrees to. But for some reason, they also, instead of just saying, okay, fucking hang out until we're ready to go, he has to be the one to start the apocalypse so that he is ready to fight the hosts of heaven. And to start the apocalypse, hell has to manipulate it so that he is ready to kill his former boss who made a bioweapon that's attached to his heartbeat. So I have several questions, one of which is, why is this so needlessly complicated?
There's a lot going on.
I guess the war between heaven and hell can't start until the apocalypse for whatever reason. Probably something in the Bible, I don't give a fuck. But why does Spawn have to be involved? Like, if they just left him in hell, because he was like, yeah, show me Wanda, I'll lead your army, I don't give a fuck, I don't care about heaven. Like, okay, just fucking sit tight and have somebody, like, Sheen made the bombs, have the clown put a bullet in his head and press the start button. Like, what is this complex plan with his heartbeat, and Spawn has to do it, and then, like, he has to be pissed off enough to do it's so stupid. It's so needlessly stupid.
Oh.
I don't understand, like, that not even the Larry Beard School of Villainy can fix this. It doesn't make a lick of sense. I don't know. It upsets me so much how overcomplicated the plot is. By the way, that's about the halfway point of the movie.
Oh, Jesus.
I'm not kidding. But don't worry, the second half is mostly fighting. We're going to blow right through it. So Spawn and the kid are hanging out on the roof of this weird gothic church ruins that Spawn seems to live in now. Clown shows up to be his annoying self, and Spawn is pissed off because suddenly he knows that Clown is the one who made Sheen kill Spawn in the first place. I don't know when he learned that. Doesn't happen on screen, but Clown shows up and he's like, how dare you, you were the one who had Martin Sheen kill me, weren't you? And he's like, guilty as charged, the Clown says in the Clown voice that I'm not going to do. Was I drunk or high when that happened? Because I must have missed it, because it's not explained beforehand. Anyway, Spawn and the Clown fight. Fuck this whole page. All right, so the Clown, I'm closing the review. I don't fucking care anymore. I'm done. So the fucking Clown, he's like, I'm going to get you, Spawn, you dumb bastard. And the Clown reveals that his name is the Violator, which that's his demon name.
God.
And he turns into this very generic video gamey demon. If you ever played any video game that involves hell, you fought this demon before. He's just this, and it's a better done CG than fucking Malbolgia. But the problem is, I know, is my one complaint is that his mouth is constantly producing saliva. It's like somebody forgot to turn off the effect to produce saliva, just constantly like a faucet dripping out of his mouth. So he and Spawn fight, and he gets the better of Spawn and like sticks him up on a fence, and then he says some shit like, you got to do the job or you're going to suck my dick in hell. And then he's like, oh, by the way, since you keep saying you're not going to lead the armies of hell, even though you agreed to it already, and Faustian deal's starting to be pretty ironclad, we're going to go rape and kill your wife. So, have fun with that. Wait, no, I'm going to reopen the review because there's one thing I want to fucking make sure I get clearly. Okay, so he's on this fence and fucking Cagliostro comes and gets him down and he's like, you shouldn't be a bad guy, Spawn. And Spawn's like, but my wife is going to get murdered. And then so fucking Cagliostro's like, Spawn gets a bunch of guns and Cagliostro's like, guns aren't going to do anything against the forces of hell, even though Martin Sheen is just a guy, a very weak guy. He's an old fat cat guy. And so Spawn's like, well, what do you think I should do? And Cagliostro is like, I have an idea. And he fast runs around Spawn and wraps Spawn up in chain. And you know how dumb the vampire fast moving looks in vampire movies?
Oh, yeah.
This is worse.
How is it worse?
Because it's just like a fucking Cagliostro colored blur that goes around. But like, it's this blur that goes around him like a tornado. But he's wrapped up in like one chain. Like, if I were wrapping you up in chains, I could do that in like 20 seconds. But he makes this like it's like his feet are moving at Sonic the Hedgehog speeds, but his arms are just like very lazily wrapping chains around. So yeah, anyway, close this review again. I don't fucking need anymore. Cagliostro teaches him how to use his fucking armor chains, and basically the equivalent is just your armor can do whatever you want. Just think about it and it does it, because we're not going to define your powers, because then you can't do anything you want. So then fucking Spawn goes back to his house with Wanda, and Martin Sheen and the clown are there. The clown has a bunch of terrible CGI shit for the daughter. It doesn't make any sense. The CGI just wanted to show off, even though it all looks bad. And fucking Sheen has Wanda up in some weird torture rack, but it's obviously the clown, because you're not going to have a movie with a sexy lady and not have John Leguizamo, the fat clown, pretend to be her so he can talk about his titties. I mean, give me a break. I was not born yesterday. So then fucking Martin Sheen is has a knife up to clown Wanda's throat, and is like, if you don't lead the armies of hell, I'm going to bang your woman with this knife. And then he bangs the woman with this knife. I'm sorry. This is the worst review I've ever done.
You're going through it over there.
I can't. I was reading my review, and I'm just like, I don't care. I don't want to review this. I don't want to read these words anymore. So fucking okay. Sheen stabs Wanda, and Spawn thinks Wanda's dead. And then fucking Sheen and Spawn fight, but Sheen is just like a guy, and Spawn is a demon. So Spawn kicks his ass, and he's about to kill him. And then Spawn sees the daughter and hesitates, and then because the family's all tied up there. And then Martin Sheen says, "If you kill me, everybody in the world dies, including your daughter." And Spawn uses, and I'm not kidding, X-ray vision to see the heart monitor, which also then, this X-ray vision also opens up Sheen's back, pulls the heart monitor out of it, closes Sheen's back, and then explodes the heart monitor.
But wouldn't that set off?
Yes.
Okay.
But apparently not.
Well, now I'm confused.
Martin Sheen's there and totally fine, because I guess this minor surgery just that Spawn did with his eye lasers is fine. So then fucking, of course, Wanda's not dead. She's just in a different room. And the clown was pretending to be Wanda, and he's like, you fucked up all my plans. You were supposed to kill Martin Sheen and start the apocalypse, which I guess I can't do for some reason. I'm incapable of, you have to do it. So then they fucking fight, and the Cagliostro shows up, and then the clown goes to hell, and he takes Spawn and Cagliostro to hell. Spawn gets stabbed in the neck at some point, which is vaguely supposed to be scary to the audience for a second, because, oh no, Spawn might be dead. Now my hero Spawn with his big cock and his many guns. I'm dying. They fucking go to hell. They fight the Violator. They kill the Violator. The Malbogia is like, you gotta lead the armies of hell, man. But he says, no, I'm not gonna do that. So Malbogia is like, okay, armies of hell, kill Spawn. The armies of hell all look like Spawn. There's just Spawn. It's just more Spawns. And
do they have all the same powers?
They don't do anything. They stand there and get electrocuted. They just it's just the same costume, because they ran on a budget, I guess. I get the idea that he's supposed to be one of many, but if he's supposed to be special in the general, why don't they look different? But again, I'm thinking too hard about it. So then he's like, Malbogia's like, hey, go kill Spawn. I hate Spawn now. So they go to kill Spawn, and Spawn stands there and just uses electricity out of his chest and kills 1,000 of them.
He's got a lot of power as this Spawn guy.
And then he's about to be overwhelmed by the rest of them, and he grabs Cagliostro, and green fire shoots out of his ass. Not comedically, but it shoots out of his ass and propels them through the hell portal, which Malboglio lazily throws a CGI hand and is like, I'll get you next time, Gadget. Almost word for word. And then they're fucking back in Wanda's house, and Spawn is like, yeah, maybe I shouldn't try to fuck my wife anymore because I'm a hard monster with no penis. And fucking not the Vindicator, the Violator comes back, and he's like, I'm not dead. And then they fight, and then Spawn cuts off his head, and John Leguizamo makes a couple more bad jokes about, what do you think of my little head? Because a penis head, Isaac. But Spawn doesn't have a penis, so he's immune to penis jokes. And his belt will eat anybody who puts a penis near him, because it eats penises and spits out vaginas. And then the movie ends. That's it. Fucking 1 out of 10. My review's over.
So everyone lives happily ever after. So is Clown dead?
Yeah, no, he's dead. Yeah, they kill him.
Okay.
They kill in the real world. Like Spawn cuts off his head. Like they fight for like a minute, and then Spawn like activates the full power of his armor and cuts off his head with the chains, which I guess is how you kill demons.
Okay.
There's also
I was hoping he would stay alive as just a head.
I also missed the scene where they have a another power that Spawn has. There's like a motorcycle and truck chase, which includes the clown is in the truck, and the truck is full of what's the review? It's like what was it called? Hold on, it was not a goo, a different type of goo. Wait, let's see here. What was it? Oh god. Oh, it was Nickelodeon. It's the truck. They're like Spawn steals a motorcycle, and the clown has a fucking big water truck. But the truck is filled with Nickelodeon slime, which the clown calls necro goo.
Necro goo. Oh,
and then like Spawn slips on the motorcycle, even though it's a hell motorcycle that's covered in spikes. And then the clown is bearing down on him with a truck, and Spawn turns his entire body into a giant set of very 90s spikes, which blows up the truck. But the clown is still totally fine.
How many powers does Spawn have?
Infinite, apparently. The chains
So
are like his
stupid.
main thing, but he just has infinite powers. Audience, I'm really sorry that I stopped doing the review for the last 30 minutes and just kind of pulled it from memory. I don't know why, because it's a 1 out of 10. Because like I did like like I said, I thought the makeup and design were good, and I think the design of Spawn is not bad, and I think they do a really good job for the 90s of making it like look not bad. It looks pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that like the actors did a good job for what they had. It's probably a 1.5 out of 2, but I'm only gonna do whole numbers. It does not earn a 2. Like the actors aren't terrible. Like they like Zombo, he did annoy me. He did a good job of annoying me. So like he did a great job there. And Martin Sheen is a great actor, and he's sufficiently wicked, even though it's cartoony. But it's a comic book. It's
right.
This
It's
was the
supposed to be a
90s
little
where
goofy.
like comic books were supposed to be cartoony. Like, you know, the Iron Man movies are like set in a different time. It's a different era of how you translate those to the modern like movies.
Yeah, and even like the original Batman from '89 is. I think that one's quite good, but it's got a cartoony vibe to a certain extent.
Right, and that's that done well, because I mean, like Jack Nicholson as the Joker is a clown, quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
But like those are done well. It's the only Tim Burton content I actually like, and I don't love those movies, especially compared to like The Dark Knight, which is a fucking masterpiece of any kind, not just a superhero movie. That movie's a masterpiece. Yeah. But like, I think the first Batman, I think the second one's not terrible. That's the Danny DeVito one. I like that one too.
Yeah, that one still had Keaton and Burton was at the helm.
Yes.
Once they started changing the Batmans and the directors,
well, yeah, then it goes all
downhill real fast.
Yeah, the Bat credit card and the fucking Mr. Freeze. Arnie is Mr. Freeze, which I think is endearing in his own way, but it's not good. This is the worst example of that. And I really feel bad that I didn't do the end of it justice, but I just could not keep reading it. I don't know why. I took too many notes, and it's not worth it. It's just not worth it.
You got spawned out.
It's really bad. It
really doesn't sound good. I don't want to watch it.
You shouldn't.
I won't. I'm glad I don't have to.
It like wasn't bad enough to get me this mad though, and I don't know why. I'm really mad. I'm really pissed off. I want to punch something. Fuck it. Yeah, no, that's it. 1 out of 10. I'm done.
All right. Done. Well, good.
Fuck.
Good God.
I'm furious.
Well, hopefully your next movie is going to make you feel a little better.
I don't think it will.
Yep. So, do you know a film made by Mr. Michael Bay called Armageddon?
Oh, no.
Well, this is not that.
Oh, God.
And this is on Amazon Prime Video, if you want to pull that up.
Yeah, give me a second.
This is not by Michael Bay.
Oh, fuck.
This is called Llamageddon.
Isaac, is it really?
It really is called Llamageddon.
Oh, no. Why? What? Who touched you as a child?
I did.
Oh.
This looks
so
unbelievably bad.
This is what we meant, folks. The Bowels of Movie Night is about to fundamentally change in some way, and only that the quality and nonsense level of the movies you're about to watch are about to rocket into the stratosphere of nonsense.
Oh, yes.
What we were watching before technically qualified as movies. This shit is nothing. This isn't real.
It's only an hour and 9 minutes though, so you're welcome.
Thank you for that. That is nice.
69 minutes.
Probably intentional.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised. Say it.
A killer llama from outer space crash lands on Earth and begins raining havoc on a group of unsuspecting college partiers.
Your favorite kind of people.
Raining havoc. Is that right?
Yeah.
That doesn't sound correct.
You rain havoc.
No, it's like REIGN. It's not like raining like Spawn stood in. It's raining like Roman Reigns.
That's weird.
That does not seem correct to me.
You might have a reign of havoc, but you wouldn't.
The preview just started, and it says it's for a mature audience. It's only for scenes of extreme llama violence. I hate everything about this.
I hope you enjoy all 69 minutes of that movie. I'm so excited to hear about it.
I feel terrible.
Yeah.
I just feel everything about today. It just feels terrible. I feel like I've wasted my time, the audience's time. Everything's been a waste. This llama movie. Oh man, the llama has laser eyes?
Oh, of course. You gotta have laser eyes. I hope it has chains,
I
too.
have seen that flame effect. Oh no. Oh, this is so bad. It's just trauma, man. It's just a trauma.
I know.
Movie, but worse.
It reminds me of
look
trauma
at that
so much.
electrocuting. Oh boy.
Seriously.
She got a nice ass though. No. That woman just caught a heart. That's a human heart she just caught. That guy has a baseball bat that's made out of aluminum foil. He's in a Starfleet uniform. What is happening? Why am I watching this? I think I've just seen half the movie in the preview. Oh, God. All right, well, this was the worst episode of this show there's ever been, so at least there's that.
Larry.
It is.
Shut up, you.
No, it is.
I'm gonna tickle you to sleep.
Please don't.
I don't know how that would work. Oh, man. So, anyway, stay tuned. Next week, I'm doing Dragon Heart 2 even hardier.
Even harder.
Yeah.
Dragon Fart 2, Cake Farts.
Dragon Queefs.
This time it's fartier.
And then we got Llamageddon, directed by Michael Bay, starring Ben Affleck as the llama, of course. Oh, do all the good podcast listener stuff. Rate, subscribe, tell your friends, tell your family, shout us from the mountaintops. Seriously, if you're climbing a mountain, leave one of our podcasts up on top of the mountain for someone else to find. That's how podcasts work. Find us on the Facebook, on the Tweety Tweets. Send us an email.
Are you 7 years old?
Yeah.
Mommy,
send us an email.
Tweet? What items are in my Amazon cart? I don't want these two worlds to cross over each other. Get out of here. Sorry, continue.
Send us an email, balsandmovienight at gmail.com. I almost fucked that up. Oh God! And stay tuned, because it's gonna get thick.
Yeah, thick in the morning. It gets better. Thick like soup. It gets better.
Bow's a movie night, even soupier than ever before.
Ah, God! When do I get one of those? When I get one of those skull crotch leg biting belts?
Nah, I don't think they're real.
We should work on that.
Okay, well, I'll talk to R&D.
Yeah, the Bow's Movie Night R&D department is very underfunded.
It's just a monkey with a bow tie on.
We blew all our budget on the bow tie. Monkey was $40. That's a $700. Oh, we're not gonna beat that. Smell you later.